Good morning. This is Shelby Law with the Great Basin's Prescribed Fire and Smoke Briefing for Monday, November 13th, 2023. Precipitation trends for the past 7 days on the left and past 30 days on the right are shown here. On the left, we're looking at inches for the past week, and on the right, percent of normal for the past month. It has been a pretty dry month over much of Utah and Nevada, although Idaho has seen a few more storms even in the past week, some precip up north, Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah. Snowfall is shown here for the past 72 hours. Really not much to speak of. That should be changing maybe by the end of the work week or into next weekend, but it's going to be a pretty dry week for the most part. Current snow depth is shown here. Not very impressive values, unfortunately, especially compared to where we were sitting this time last year. Pretty light totals right now, or the current snow depth here in the light blues. We're looking at 4 to maybe 8 inches, some darker blues in western Wyoming, maybe up to 12 to 15 inches, maybe a little bit higher in some of those areas. So not great. We definitely need some storms to be moving in if we're going to keep on track with our water. Okay, let's look at our current satellite imagery this morning. We have a nice low pressure system off the Pacific coast today. It looks pretty impressive, but it's not going to really deliver too much. It's going to kind of hang off the coast for much of the work week, keeping things dry for the most part over the basin until next weekend. Okay, for today, again, looking at the upper air pattern here, still looking at that low off the coast. Warm southwesterly flow in place across much of the basin today and through the next couple of days. Dry generally as well. So ventilation rates are not terrible yet. They do get worse throughout the week, but for today, reasonable values over portions of the area. Transport winds shown here on the left are we do have some gusty winds out there, especially across central Nevada, over portions of western Utah and some of the higher elevations there, and then up into Idaho as well. Mixing heights are not terrible today. There's some areas with some higher mixing heights, especially over the higher elevations in Utah and Idaho, and then in western Nevada. Maximum temperatures and minimum relative humidity is shown here. 60s, low 60s in some areas, so pretty warm for the middle of November. Minimum relative humidities are also going to be fairly dry in the mid-teens across much of Utah and Nevada, with higher values over Idaho and Wyoming. On Tuesday, the low still remains off the coast, so we're expecting warm and dry conditions to persist. Ventilation rates look okay on Tuesday. That's going to be largely due to some of the winds over Idaho, Wyoming, across the higher elevations of Utah. Mixing heights are also a little bit higher over Utah as well, and up into central Idaho, not quite as high over Nevada. More of the same on Wednesday. We do start to see maybe a little bit of moisture slinging up into portions of the Great Basin out ahead of this low. Ventilation rates are similar on Wednesday to Tuesday. Transport winds decrease a bit over Utah on Wednesday, but we do see those winds remaining elevated over Idaho and western Wyoming. Mixing heights still fair over Utah and up into Idaho. It's still a little bit on the lower end over central Nevada. Let's take a look at the forecasted clearing index for Utah for the next couple of days. You can kind of see the pattern here, the trend here, that the values are going to be higher over the higher elevations and over southwest Utah where we are seeing those gustier winds. So that's really going to hold true Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Eastern Utah and far northwest Utah, the values are pretty poor through the midweek. Okay, precip totals for the next couple of days are shown here. Pretty much not a whole lot to speak of across the central Great Basin. Late for the second half of the work week, Wednesday into Thursday, we'll start to see some moisture moving into the southern Great Basin, and then maybe some moisture across the north as well. On Thursday, the low still hanging off the coast. That we could start to see a little bit of moisture moving into the southern Great Basin. Ventilation rates aren't looking real great as we head into Thursday. On Friday, the low begins to move, starting to move inland, eastward. And so we'll see some moisture begin to move into the Great Basin, especially across the west, beginning on Friday. Ventilation rates still not looking the great over Utah and Nevada, or Utah and Idaho on Friday, but we'll see some improvement over Nevada. And beginning Saturday, that low moves into California, spreading some moisture into the Great Basin, especially the southern Great Basin in Nevada. Beginning on Saturday, we should see an increase in precipitation on Saturday across the Great Basin. And then we'll see that precip linger into Sunday as well, or continue into Sunday. This is Sunday afternoon when that low quickly moves off to the east. But throughout the day on Sunday and maybe into Monday morning, we could see some lingering precip there. And the ventilation rates improve as well with that storm passage. Precipitation accumulations are shown here for days 4 and 5. So this is just Thursday through Saturday. We can see that moisture, the beginning surge of that moisture into the southern Great Basin by Saturday, and then into Sunday we'll see more moisture fill in across the northern half of the Great Basin. The extended forecast, November 20th through the 22nd, 20th through the 26th, puts below normal temperatures across the basin, so we should be enjoying those warm temperatures this week before things change a little bit, and then some above normal chances for precip as well as we head into the week of Thanksgiving. This concludes today's briefing. Please check back tomorrow for on Wednesday for the latest updates.